Hi, in this video we're going to be talking about events and how to dispatch custom events from your own components. So I have a basic component set up ready to be used. And in this particular case, this component has an internal value that we want to expose to features outside of this component. So the way that we can notify any other system outside of the component, hey, listen here, my value has changed, is by dispatching a custom event. It's very important that we try and follow convention as far as possible. So the convention that we're going to follow in this case is by looking at the input element, where the input element has a value property that we can read the value from the element directly, but it also has a change event so that when the value changes, we can listen to the change event and then update whatever we want to do. So in this case, let's go and add a function that says update value, and we're going to send in a new value, and then we'll say this dot value is equal to new value. So now that's great. So if I had to access an instance of my component and say my component.value, I'll either get undefined or whatever the new value is that I've set. But nothing outside of the system actually knows that that value has changed. So what I can do here is dispatch an event. So as part of the base element, we get a dispatch event. So we can say this dot dispatch event, and we want to create a new custom event that contains two parameters. The first parameter is the event name. So we're going to put in here change as the event name, and then the second one is the detailed object that we're going to read from the event object. So we'll just say here that now let's do this, the detail is equal to, and we'll create an object here with a value of new value. And the reason why I'm not putting the value directly onto the detail property is just to show that you can either send a value across, or you can actually send multiple values across the event. So if you've got some object literal or dictionary that you want to send back as part of the event, that's very doable, as long as you keep the convention of using the detail property on that object that you're sending on. Now on the welcome HTML, we have this my component. So in this case, we're just going to quickly get a handle of this thing. So we'll say this dot component is equal to document dot query selector, that guy, and we want to use add event listener. So let's quickly create a function here for our change. So we'll say value changed event, and then here we'll say this dot value changed handler equals this dot value changed dot bind this. So it's important to note that we're using the convention here to say what is the function that I'm going to be calling, and then the word handler after that. The next thing for us to do is actually to go and listen to that event. So we can say this dot component dot add event listener. What is the event we want to listen to? Change, right? So change, and then what is the function I want to call? Well, we're going to be using this handler over here. So this dot value changed handler. And in this case here, what we're going to do is just say console.log event.detail. So that's great, but this thing won't fire because nothing's actually changing the value yet. So what we'll do here is just in the constructor, we'll call it, just so we can see this thing working. So update value, and we'll pass in the value 10, save it, go to our application and refresh, and you'll see there that the detail object comes back with the property on it for value, and the value is 10. So here I can then go and work further with it. So I can go and do some math function or whatever. So let's just quickly summarize at what we've done here. The first thing is that we have a value property. So the idea here is that this component has a value that it wants to expose to the outside world. We're using the word value in this case to be compatible with other elements that does more or less the same thing. Then we dispatch a custom event. By the custom event is called change, and we send in an object literal which contains either a value or an object of the payload we want to send back to whoever's interested in it. So in reality, all you need to do when you want to notify to the outside world that, hey, this value has changed and this is what the value is you just dispatch a custom event like this. Then on the other side, if you want to be notified that this thing actually did change, all we need to do is use the add event listener, listen to the event that the component is dispatching, and then give it the function that it must call with that change. This is easy, as difficult as that.